and welcome to More Together with School District 25, where each week we'll take a deeper dive into some of the issues, accomplishments, news, and current events happening around our school communities. This is a chance for listeners to get to know the school district and learn more about the educational issues you care about the most. I'm Courtney Fisher, and joining me today is Mr. Colin Brien. Mr. Brien is a teacher in the music program at Century High School, and he also serves as School District 25's music coordinator. I invited Mr. Brien today to have a conversation about the district's music education program and share information with us about the full schedule of musical events coming up this spring. So let's get to it. Mr. Brien, welcome to the program, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much, Courtney. I'm glad to be here.
So first, let's find out a little bit more about you, Mr. Brien. Can you please take a moment to share with our listeners a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. This is my, 12th or 13th year at Century High School as the band director. And then I was music coordinator a few years ago, and then last year took that up again. But we have that position split into three parts. So my colleagues, Michael Hellman at Franklin Middle School Band, and my other colleague, Casey Honatsky, for the district orchestra, we work together to coordinate all of the music programs in the district. And I think we make a really amazing team, just with the expertise that's spread out, as well as all of our different organizational and presentation skills and that kind of a thing. So it's pretty great. And then prior to being at District 25, I was Blackfoot Middle School band director at Mountain View Middle School for about 2 years. And then I went to grad school for 2 years, and I love being in this district, and I especially love being at Century High School.
Well, I agree. We do have an amazing music program and an amazing team of leaders like yourself helping us lead the charge there. And you clearly have a passion for music education and have dedicated your career to sharing with and developing that passion in others. What can you share with us today to help our audience understand the importance of music education in public schools, and more specifically, what are some of the key benefits of music education for our learners?
Absolutely. So when we talk about core subjects in our schools, I think that music actually is one of the most core subjects because it really brings together all of the other core subjects. An example would be every day that students are doing music, they are actually manipulating math problems in their head while they're doing the music in the rhythm. Additionally, they're also working with the science of sound constantly, working on matching vibrations in order to be in tune or to sing with good balance. They're also manipulating the physics of harmonics and harmonic overtones as they work towards tone on their instrument, getting resonance or tone in their voice or stringed instrument. And then they're also doing a lot in relation to communicating, similar to what they would do in writing an essay or writing an argumentative paper. Every piece of music repertoire that they play has a structure to it, but not only do they have structure, they have to also express that structure out loud and with others, which is really kind of an amazing thing. So it really brings a tremendous amount of science, math, and language into play. And then on top of that, there's also the visual communication side that helps them stay together and play together and sing together. And when they perform, there's the audience communication side where they are trying to express something to the audience to transport them really into a whole nother area of life. It might be they're trying to express and transport the audience to a place or to feeling or that kind of a thing. So just to kind of summarize, I really think that music is important because it truly brings their education together. And it's working both sides of the brain, their right brain and their left brain. They're expressing emotional things, but they're also using a lot of very logical powers from the other side of the brain to perform music and play music with others. And that's not even touching all of the social benefits of what they're doing, not only in expressing music with others, but also working as, in some ways, the largest team. Every member of the team is important in a music ensemble. It'd be so great to have a bench for each of our ensembles where it's like, oh, you missed a note, you're out. But we don't. Every person is being educated that's in the ensemble or in the class, and we're trying to move everybody forward to create one thing. It's a mammoth task, but it's a ton of fun, and really amazing. So there's tremendous educational value.
Right. I love that idea of transporting to another realm and really just how you make those connections to the full educational circle. So tell us a little something about how you think the district's music education program sets District 25 apart from others, and what do we do really well when it comes to music education? I think you've touched on a little bit, but maybe share a little bit more about that.
One of the things that I really appreciate about School District 25 music teachers and our programs is that we are so closely and intimately connected with the community. I think Idaho State University has been a huge support of our music education. We work closely with many of the music professors there. But in addition, we also work pretty closely with music groups and independent musicians that are in the area, which is phenomenal. And then on top of that, I think that our music educators work a lot together to find innovative ways to keep music education going. The collaboration that I have with my colleagues Michael Hellman and Casey Honatsky is incredible because we're able to bring ideas from different areas together and then try to make those refined and fit into the context of each music classroom. So I think our program in District 25 is really distinct from many programs around the state because of our collaborative approach to music education with not only our buildings and our team, but also with the community too. And we have a really fantastic group of music educators.
Absolutely.
And the community. A huge shout out to our community because they support us, and a huge shout out to our administrators in the schools and to our administrators at the district office because they have really supported music education like they've supported all programs. And I think it shows. We have some outstanding musicianship. And, it's the same kids. They're the same age kids as all the programs around us, all the programs around the country. And I think one of the things that makes our programs excellent is the teachers and the support from administrators and the community.
Right, and you've touched on so many important things there. Those educational partnerships with our community and are critical to everything we do in District 25. And also, the things that you explained really are an extension of our district's mission to think more, be more, and learn more together. So I applaud you for that because it's coming through in everything that you're discussing today. So let's talk for a moment, because this year has been challenging for all of us, right? And the impact of COVID-19 and that impact on all aspects of education, but it has really had a unique and profound impact on music education over the last year. So let's talk a little bit about how COVID has exacerbated any ongoing challenges with music education. And can you tell us a little bit about how we've been able to realistically address any of those issues?
Well, it's such an enormous subject, as you said, and it's definitely had quite an impact. One of the things that COVID-19 has presented challenges in is the area of performance, because we typically are working on music in class together. We tend to have large class sizes because we can work with large class sizes, and it's a lot more fun with a lot more people. So not having the large class sizes has been challenging, and those first 2 trimesters with the hybrid schedule presented a lot of problems. And problems, what I mean by that is, all of a sudden you have maybe half of your regular ensemble, and depending on their ability level, their confidence may be affected by how many people are in the room, which is part of the social aspect of music. But I think the other part that COVID-19 has affected is just the energy of creating music together with our classes. And that kind of spark or electricity of that energy between, the masks and the social distancing, it's made it really hard to operate in the same way that we had prior to COVID-19. And on our minds is always the long-term effect and impact. And we've wondered, how are we going to come out of this? Are we going to come out strong? Are we going to be able to get back to where we are? Those are kind of the overarching questions that are always in the back of our minds. So addressing those issues, I think what that did for us was it allowed us to really think about music education in a very different way. And what I mean by that is, if we can't do what we normally do, what can we do that we normally can't do is sort of the approach that we started to look at as a team. And we started to really explore maybe things we've never explored before and try and open up some opportunities for our music students in the schools and approach things in a very different way. And what was amazing about this is that each of our music teachers really took a very, very different approach to incorporating different types of technology. And I feel like we're going to be this powerhouse of ability when we start to combine those and educate one another when we get a little bit of time over what we've been able to accomplish, what we've worked with our students on as well. And I think our students have come out with some very strong technological skills.
Right.
So addressing those issues has been really tough. Now we're in the semester where our groups are back together. Some students have chosen to do online still, so we really miss those students, and we're hoping and excited to have them back when they are comfortable. But that transition of, we're still practicing social distancing in our class, trying to limit a lot of playing and singing as well, and trying to keep the students safe and our community healthy.
Right. I'm excited to see how you blend some of those opportunities that have been presented, because we've all had to be a little bit more innovative and do things. And I think that's one of the exciting things that's come out of COVID is kind of being forced into that role of innovating, and good things always come out of that. So it sounds like one of the most profound impacts has involved the performance element of music education, or lack thereof, due to some of the restrictions and mitigating strategies that we've had to put in place. In your opinion, are we starting to see the light at the end of that very dark tunnel? And can you share with us some of the exciting performance opportunities that we have for learners, their parents, and our community members to enjoy coming up this spring?
I might start with the last part. I think that most of our school programs are planning to have some kind of a community performance, and how they are addressing that is normally, if we have 3 or 4 ensembles at one school, we might have them all perform at a concert together, and involving hundreds of students and hundreds of community members, parents, and supporters of music. And how the teachers are addressing those is they're just having those concerts split up so that one ensemble performs at a time to limited audience, where they can space out in the facility or wherever the concert may be held. I know one group is even considering doing an outdoor concert this spring. I thought that was extremely inventive, and they're trying to adapt everything towards that. And so I think there are going to be performance opportunities. Therefore, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And the reason I say that is because I think that the students and the community are reaching a point where they're comfortable with performances happening. I mean, the vaccination rate has been enormous, and it's exciting to see how many people are getting vaccinated and kind of contributing to keeping Idaho open and healthy. But also, I think that comfort level of people being able to gather together, still spaced out, is, people feel safe and they can hopefully enjoy some great music. And I know the students are very excited to perform. They love it. They love to show people what they can do with all of these combined educational elements that they're working on, their science, their math, their English, all coming together in music. And they're excited to just perform and express that to our community. And so I know teachers are planning really fun music that I think the community will really enjoy.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to that. And I know the community is looking forward. We've been waiting a long time where we can safely do some of these things. And I finally feel like we're at that point where we can do that. Is there any specific performance that you are most eagerly anticipating, and why?
One of the performances that I'm anticipating that I think is going to be so exciting is our beginning groups, those beginning band, orchestra, and choir students in our middle schools, because I think that they're just starting out and they haven't really had that opportunity to perform. And I think those performances are going to be very special for their parents and for those students. So I'm really looking forward to those. Obviously, at my school, as each music director is looking forward to, I'm looking forward to having the band play. Our band, this is week 5 of having our whole band's classes together. That's been kind of cool. I've wondered, for months, how will they sound when they're all together? We've been doing all these different things in class and really reaching out and trying to experiment with different types of technology. And so our concert that we're going to be doing, like many, will kind of be incorporating some of the technology that we have been using along with live performance. So that's going to be quite exciting.
There's something so special about, the culmination of all that hard work and effort coming through in a musical performance, that you have an audience for. So I'm really looking forward to some of those events myself. Where can people find out more information about the schedule of events?
So we have put together a music calendar. We started putting that together just recently since performances were going to start happening. And then we will be sending that to the district office, and I think they will be posting that under calendars in the or on the sd25.us website, and that should include all of our middle school and high school music programs.
Okay, wonderful. And I've got a copy of that, so I'll make sure that that's on our website so that our listeners can easily access that and find, there's just a whole complete roster of special performances coming up. I think one of our strengths as a district has been to identify, and we've worked on this in groups and collaboratively, to identify the silver linings. It's really important for us in education to stay positive. So looking for those silver linings that have arisen out of these challenging times. Can you share with us any of your own personal silver linings that you've discovered as a music educator throughout this time?
The largest silver lining that I experienced this year was really in technology. I felt comfortable with, a lot of technology before coming into this COVID year, but what happened was we were sort of thrown into, we have to use this technology in order to keep our students successful, both at home and at school during hybrid learning. And what we found out of all of this was that there is a tremendous amount of new music being created and produced because of this combination of technology and live performance. And I think the big silver lining for me is as we go back to normal, if we can even call it that, or the new normal, as I like to refer to it, that we are now going to be able to combine these resources, and in the hands of a great teacher, I think those resources are going to just blow open the door of possibility for our students in music education and beyond. One quick example was I had 3 young students at Century High School. They're not in the music program at all, but the 3 of them are super interested in creating some animated features and film. And so they came by and talked to me a little bit about technology. And so I was able to show them, hey, here's what we're using. And they were so excited about it. And I thought, this is so cool that now, everything we've been working on is also transferring. Another great example was we had some students participating in some music ensembles here at Century, and then they were also doing a drama competition, and they put together almost a podcast-like drama presentation where all of the recorded sounds and everything they created using the technology that we had been using themselves. It was just an astounding use of technology from our students. So they're taking all of this material that we're using and the technology, and they're really starting to apply it in deeper ways, or what we call transfer knowledge in our assessment capable learning strategies. And that is an amazing silver lining or rewarding experience from all of this. But I think in addition, what I'm noticing is that all teachers in our district and all administration and personnel, I think that we're all coming out with some really amazing skills, and the challenge will be, how can we move forward into the future and really utilize these, putting this technology or putting these ideas or putting these concepts into the hands of amazing and smart and intelligent people who can really create and do something that's going to improve our learning, our capability of our learners, improve our community, and hopefully just provide some, incredible moments for everybody.
Absolutely.
In the future.
I love those examples you use, and that intersection of technology and creativity and what comes out of that, I think, is so very exciting. So thank you for sharing that. Before we sign off, it's time to switch gears for just a moment. Part of the purpose of this podcast is really for listeners to get to know our school district, our educational programming, and this has been a phenomenal insight, kind of deeper dive into our music education programs and the people who work here and learn here. So I asked these 3 last questions of each one of my guests because I think they provide some insight into the personality and passion of the guest. And, reading is educational. So tell me, Mr. Brien, what is the last book you read? What are you reading now? And what's next in your to-be-read pile?
Well, I wish I could call myself a great reader, but I'm a very slow reader. But I do enjoy reading so much. And one humorous thing I should preface with is I was reading this book called Getting Things Done, and ironically, I never finished it, so I always feel a bit guilty about that in particular. One of the books that I just finished recently that is phenomenal, and unfortunately, my poor students are kind of the guinea pigs for it, but it's called Make It Stick, The Science of Successful Learning by Peter C. Brown. I love this book because one of the things that it opened up for me is looking at learning and how learning is sticking in the minds of students in a completely different way, and how many sort of myths that we have gotten ourselves into with learning. For instance, to learn material, we just need to review it and repeat it or reread it. And the book kind of points out, that doesn't actually really work very well. But things like approaching information from different angles, using information in different ways starts to make it stick. And I was teaching my dual enrollment college class, Music 100, Music Appreciation, and I had a student mention something that he had learned. We went over a term, and he said, "Oh, I know what that is." And I said, "Well, how do you remember that?" And he said, "Oh, I remember I had a middle school teacher teach that to us." And I said, "You should write her an email and thank her because she did something that day that made that stick," and that's really phenomenal. So trying to approach learning in a really revolutionary way, maybe not revolutionary way, but a very different and researched way that's going to help students be more powerful. And then the book that I'm currently reading is The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And I really love this book because he covers so many different ways of leading, having researched many successful companies and organizations. And that book has provided a lot of insight for me on, how I see myself as a teacher learner, not really a leader, but I recognize that, if I am strong as a leader, I can really have a good effect upon the community and upon the students by leading in the correct way, by example. So that's kind of a personal book that I'm working on. And then a book that I'm looking forward to finishing, again, I started it, is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and a lot of my students who are working on leadership skills are reading that book as well. So we're kind of going through that together also. So that's where I am in my reading at the moment.
Those are all great choices. I'm going to have to check out that leadership book. It sounds really fascinating. I love this question because it's almost like a reading confessional, and I get some really interesting answers to that. So I appreciate your willingness to share with us a little bit about the mind behind the educator. I think that's really important for our listeners to try to get to understand some of the personalities in our classrooms. And I think that provides some great insight into, the leadership in education in our classrooms. Colin, Mr. Brien, thank you so much for joining me today. You've been listening to More Together with School District 25 with today's guest, Mr. Brien, District 25's music coordinator and music teacher at Century High School. Mr. Brien, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today about music education, and I wish you and your learners the best of luck with all of your spring performances.
Thank you so much, Courtney. It was an honor to be here.
Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast. Our mission at School District 25 is to think more, learn more, and be more together. If you enjoy this podcast, remember, check us out every Friday with a new episode available on our YouTube channel. And if you have an issue you'd like to hear more about, send your ideas or questions to communications@sd25.us.